Golden State Media Concepts social media podcast. Time to hashtag everything with
Mariano
and Pauline.
Hashtag Pauliano. We talk about all the fun, crazy stories on social media, from Instagram to Facebook, Twitter to Tumblr, or probably even Friendster. Join us each week as we explore the quirky side of social media. It's the Golden State Media Concepts social media podcast.
It's simple, such a sad song. The one that we rely on to get us.
Thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Social Media News Podcast. I am your host, Sarah, and today's podcast is brought to you by AdamandEve.com, where for a limited time only, you'll get 50% off of just about any item on their website, just by typing in the promo code SMP at checkout. That's SMP for Social Media Podcast. Just go to AdamandEve.com, type in SMP, and you'll get 50% off just about any item on their website. So welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts Social Media News Podcast. As I said, I am your host, Sarah, and you have probably noticed that Halloween is right around the corner. In fact, since Halloween is on a Tuesday this year, probably there's a million Halloween parties going on this weekend. We are at Friday of the week, thank goodness. And so Friday and Saturday, today and tomorrow, I'm guessing there's probably a lot of Halloween parties going on. Do you have your Halloween costume picked out? If so, what is it? Do you make your own costume? Do you buy a costume? Do you do a combination of both? If you make your own costume or do a combination of both, do you use social media such as Pinterest to get ideas? Pinterest is an amazing site to me, frankly, because, well, you can find just about anything, right? I mean, you can get sucked down the Pinterest rabbit hole. You go looking for one thing, and the next thing you know, you're looking at pictures of, I don't know, a bear on roller skates dressed up as something else for Halloween. I don't even know. There's some crazy things out there in the universe of Pinterest and other social media sites. But for things like Halloween or do-it-yourself projects, Pinterest can be great. It's so much fun to go and see what other people are doing. But it also gives us that little bit of a false sense of perfection, right? Because, of course, we tend to put our best foot forward in terms of social media. We tend to post the picture where we look the best. We tend to post the updates that make us look the best. You know, we're not going to, sometimes you post the humorous comments about humorous status when, your dog threw up on the floor and you broke the dish you were holding and, everything went wrong. We post humorous things, but we don't often give our full and true selves on social media. So our social media presence can make our lives look like they're a little more perfect than they are, which is why I love some of those articles that you read where they show you the Pinterest fails. So you go onto Pinterest and of course people are going to post their best pictures. Of course they are. If you work hard to create something and you've done it yourself and you're proud of it, of course you want to show it off to its best advantage. That might have been your 10th try. You might not have gotten it right the first several times, but when you got it perfect, that's when you posted it. Well, then someone else goes and tries to follow the same instructions or tries to do the same project, and then you get those fabulous Pinterest fail posts where people post the original picture of what they tried to duplicate and then they post their own try, and sometimes the results are just hilariously bad. And I appreciate the people who have enough of a sense of humor about themselves to actually, post their fails and say, hey, my attempt really, really didn't look good. And that happens so often when we first try something. It's not always going to go right the very first time. And so you get, we tend to try to make it a little on the funny side, but it is nice to see that other side of of life when things don't always go perfectly well. So in terms of your do-it-yourself Halloween costume, what do you have in mind? I live in Northern California now, but growing up I lived in Montana, and my mom always made our Halloween costumes, and she always made them so that they could be somehow incorporated with a snowsuit, whether they went over the snowsuit or the snowsuit was incorporated into the outfit. We always made sure that we could put that outfit over a snowsuit, because you never know in Montana when it's going to be dumping down snow on you on Halloween. It's happened. In fact, one year, I just went trick-or-treating as a cross-country skier. I had my snow pants. I just incorporated the snow pants right into my outfit, and I went as a skier, and I was warm and toasty, and it was lovely. But it's a little harder to be, for instance, a Disney princess in those tiny little floaty dresses that they wear when you have to put it over a snowsuit. It can be done. You just need to get a slightly bigger size of Disney princess outfit. So what about you? Do you make your own costumes? Now that I'm older, I am not nearly as talented as my mother. As I said, my mother made all of our costumes growing up, or helped us to incorporate kind of do-it-yourself elements into our costumes as we got older. I don't dress up a lot for Halloween. It depends on if I have somewhere to be. I used to work with a preschool for several years, and so they had a fall harvest fest, and the adults were encouraged to dress up for that. So that was a lot of fun. I fulfilled my dream one year of having a poodle skirt. It was lovely. I ordered a whole outfit online. I had the poodle skirt, I had the polo shirt, I had the saddle shoes. I was so happy. The only thing that I was sad about was that my hair wasn't long enough to put up in the ponytail to have the traditional look of, the ponytail with the handkerchief tied around it. And it was a turquoise poodle skirt and crinolines. I love crinolines. So see, this is what I love about Halloween, is that I get to fulfill some random historical period. I was a history major in college. I love to read historical fiction and books of history. And there's certain time periods where I'm fascinated with the clothes. So, I'd always had this fixation with the 50s and poodle skirts, and I finally got to fulfill that dream. One year I was a flapper from the 20s. So I had the fringe dress with the headband and T-strap shoes, and it was awesome. It was so much fun. The pearls. And that year my hair actually worked. It was cut in a bob. And so I was able to, I tried to straighten it as much as possible and put the headband on. And it was so much fun. One year I was kind of medieval with it was kind of a generic princessy lady in waiting kind of outfit, velvet, gold, and that was fun. I wore that one year for the preschool fest. And so, like I said, I tend to veer more towards historical periods. But then I have friends who are really good at, creating outfits. It's kind of similar to cosplay, right? If you have a favorite comic book character or a favorite character that you like to dress up for, you get to dress up more than just on Halloween. But I have friends who are really good at creating outfits of characters that are well known, whether they're comic book characters or whether it's a character from Star Wars or Captain Jack Sparrow from Pirates of the Caribbean, whatever it might be. People can be really, really creative in how they create their outfits. I'm also impressed with people who create outfits from social media trends. If you go online and you type in social media, something along the lines of social media and Halloween, I saw an article from last year that was talking about social media trends and things that were on, whether it was a picture or kind of a concept, it was giving you ideas of how to create those outfits. And one of them was, for instance, let me think, you were the ghost of Justin Bieber's Instagram. He deleted his Instagram last year, I guess, and so they gave you a way to dress up. Now, the only thing with those is that if you don't want to spend your entire night explaining it, then, and now if you're in a room full of people who are completely in touch with social media, then you might not have to explain it. But some of those, I would imagine you'd have to spend your entire evening explaining just what your outfit was. Back to my own my own outfits. One year I went as Laura Ingalls Wilder, and I spent the entire time trick-or-treating. This was when I was a kid. I spent the entire time trick-or-treating telling people who I was. And that got to be a little annoying because I loved Little House on the Prairie, and I just assumed that everyone should know, darn it, who I was. That's probably enough on Halloween costumes and getting ideas from social media, but we are going to take our first break of the podcast, but when we come back, we will be talking about some of the trends happening on social media today. Today happens to be Black Cat Day, so we're going to talk about that. So stay tuned, and we will be right back with the GSMC Social Media News Podcast. This Halloween, are you looking to spice things up in the bedroom? Been fantasizing maybe about surprising your lover with an adventurous new toy or adult movie? Well, I have an offer for you that you are not going to be able to resist. Just go to adamandeve.com, and for a limited time only, you'll get 50% off of just about any item. But that's not all. Nope. When you select your one item at 50% off, you'll also receive 3 free adult DVDs. For a little inspiration, maybe some ideas will get flowing. Plus, that's not all. Plus, a free extra gift so sensual that I can't even mention it on this podcast. That's not it, though. To top it all off, they will even throw in free shipping on your entire order. And no, they are not kidding. So check out adamandeve.com today for this special offer. Get 50% off of one item when you type SMP for the offer code upon checkout. That's SMP as in Social Media Podcast. When you do, you'll get 3 free DVDs, a free extra gift, free shipping, and that 50% off of almost anything that they sell on their website. So just use that offer code of SMP at adamandeve.com. That's SMP as in Social Media Podcast at adamandeve.com. Welcome back to the GSMC Social Media News Podcast. We are talking about some Halloween topics today, and this isn't specifically about Halloween per se, but when you think about Halloween, you think about all those things that come with Halloween. For instance, ghosts and goblins, vampires and werewolves, witches and black cats. And today happens to be Black Cat Day. It is celebrated every year on October 27th. Now, you might be asking yourself, or me, why is today Black Cat Day? Why do we even need Black Cat Day? Well, you clearly have not been on the internet enough, because if you go to, if you type in like daily holidays on the internet, you're going to find out that every day of the year has multiple holidays on it. So not only is today, October 27th, Black Cat Day, National Black Cat Day, it's also American Beer Day. It's Boxer Shorts Day. It is National Bandana Day. It's Cranky Coworkers Day. That's awesome. I have some cranky coworkers. I should have gotten them a gift. It is Frankenstein Friday. That's actually celebrated the last Friday of October, but and there's a bunch more. I mean, there's probably 10 more holidays that are celebrated today, either on October 27th or the last Friday of October or whatever it is. So yeah, there's a million different holidays, and today just happens to be Black Cat Friday, or Black Cat Day, which is appropriate because we are coming up on Halloween. And the history a little bit of black cats. You may know that cats were very highly revered in ancient Egypt. If you look at a lot of the hieroglyphics and a lot of the pictures from that time, cats are definitely prominent. They were the cats of royalty, who were known to be often dressed in jewelry, and they were very well treated. Then the goddess of warfare in Egyptian mythology was actually a woman with the head of a cat. If you look at Egyptian mythology, they usually have human bodies with the heads of animals. And so goddess of warfare was a woman with the head of a cat who was named Bastet. Now, so why were black cats revered in ancient Egypt? But now, we see black cats as unlucky. Well, as I was doing a little bit of reading for this, I came across that black cats were actually seen as lucky in Celtic mythology, it was believed that fairies could take the form of black cats. And so then if you had a black cat, come to your house, or if it came to the village, this was seen as a sign of good luck because the fairies were visiting your house or your village. Unfortunately, when the Puritans who came after, and they were devoutly religious, they didn't appreciate that this was sort of this pagan symbolism of fairies and the other world, and they kind of equated fairies with maybe witches or demons. And so instead of it made a complete 180. Instead of black cats being seen as lucky, now they were seen as the familiars of witches, or maybe the embodiment of demons. And then they were seen as unlucky. They were often even killed in these ancient times, and people who owned black cats were severely punished. So that has stuck with us, and we still have those superstitions about black cats. And it doesn't make any sense because, black cats aren't any less lucky than any other colored cat. They are often, depending on your taste in animals, black cats are very beautiful. I have a friend who has 2 black cats. She's named them Prana and Pilates, and they are beautiful. She posts pictures of them on Facebook, and they're really beautiful. Sometimes that solid color can be really striking. And then the patterned cats have their own charms. And really it's kind of like people. Everyone looks different, and they're all unique in their own ways. So Black Cat Day, if you are a cat person, even though you don't have a black cat, maybe you can still celebrate with your cat and just, raise a toast of milk to the black cats everywhere. If you do have a black cat, make it an extra special day. I don't know. Give them an extra helping of tuna with their dinner or something. However you want to celebrate Black Cat Day with your black cat. If you are a cat lover who doesn't have a cat, this might be the perfect opportunity to go to the shelter and see if you can rescue a cat. It doesn't have to be a black cat, but studies have shown that because of this fear or concern over black cats, because of this superstition about black cats, and even to some extent black dogs, are much less likely to be adopted, and so are much more likely to be euthanized in the shelters. Again, it's less likely with dogs, but it still happens. But some of the statistics say that up to 50% of black cats do not get adopted because of these superstitious notions, and then they are more likely to be euthanized in the shelter. So if you are a cat lover and you have been thinking about getting a cat, I think Black Cat Day is the perfect time to go to your shelter and see what they have. Maybe they have a black and white cat that's beautiful. Maybe they have a calico cat with interesting black markings. Really, it's up to you. But you could also, you'll be saving a life regardless, but you will be maybe saving a life especially if you go looking for a black cat specifically. I like cats. I think they're so cute, but I am not deathly, that's over-exaggerating. I'm really, really allergic to cats. I had the scratch test at my allergist, and the cat one was the biggest. It was huge. It was crazy. So I unfortunately cannot adopt a little black cat of my own on National Black Cat Day, but I will maybe go online and watch some black cat videos. Or I'll just go onto my friend's Facebook and look at Pilates and Prana and celebrate with them. They live completely on the other side of the country, so I can't celebrate with them in person, even if I weren't allergic. But that's the other thing. If we're talking about social media news, not black cats, just cat videos, I don't even know what to say about that. That is crazy the way the black cat videos have taken off in the last few years, right? We, as a society, love to watch cat videos, and I can't really say there's anything wrong with that. I mean, if something makes you happy and it makes your day a little better, hey, the world can be a crappy place sometimes. And if cat videos spread a little cheer, I'm all for it. If black cat videos can raise a little awareness and get more black cats adopted, that's great. If we're talking about awareness and adoption and all those things, then I would throw in a little plug to have your pets spayed and neutered so that we aren't creating an oversurplus of animals who then end up in the shelters who may or may not get adopted. I'm not going to go on a soapbox, just a reminder that it's important to be responsible pet owners. So Black Cat Day. I would love to hear from you. Have you ever heard of Black Cat Day? Did you know that today was Black Cat Day? If you did know of this, did you celebrate with your cats? Especially, did you celebrate with your black cats? If you celebrated with your black cats, how did you do so? I would love to hear from you. And the crazy thing is, for the Social Media News Podcast, you can come talk to me on social media. Who would have known? We are on Facebook and Twitter, Tumblr and Instagram. Probably easiest. You can definitely post pictures on our Instagram, GSMC-social, or you can go find us on Facebook or Twitter and leave your comments about Black Cat Day, GSMC_social, or sorry, excuse me, S Media. And you can find us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram. We would love to hear from you. We are going to take our second break of the podcast, but stay tuned. When we come back, we'll be talking about something that I've been noticing on Facebook, and just stay tuned to find out what that is. We'll be right back with the GSMC Social Media News Podcast.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to the GSMC Social Media News Podcast. We are talking today a little bit about Halloween. We talked in the first segment about Halloween costumes, and then in the second segment, not specifically Halloween, but it is Black Cat Day. And now in this last segment, this doesn't have really anything to do with Halloween, but it has been coming up on my Facebook feed a lot, and that is using only a GIF, tell me how we met. Something along those lines. It might be phrased a little bit differently. So instead of leaving comments, someone should leave you a GIF saying how we met. And if you haven't been aware of this, this is fairly recent. It's probably actually older than I'm making it out to be, but it's not that old, where you can, in the comments, you can click GIF and then you can search. So you can search for, I don't know, cats, black cats, and then it'll bring up GIFs that, and instead of a picture, a GIF is something like a teeny tiny clip of a video. So it might be 1 second of video, 1 or 2 seconds of video. And so you get these kind of, it's not exactly animated, but it's not just a still picture either. It's a moving visual image. And so tell me how we met using nothing but a GIF. And I've seen some of them are great. I mean, it's a little hard, I think, when you type in, and maybe I'm just not creative enough in what I use for my search terms. So for instance, let's say you met at, well, like if you met at college, that is one thing. There's all kinds of things that represent college, and they're pretty easy to figure out. And the thing is that you're not supposed to, respond with words. You're just supposed to respond with this picture. And sometimes they come with captions, but you may have to try to figure out what the person was meaning. Hopefully you know them well enough to remember where you met them. But I met one of my friends at seminary, which is theological school, right? When you're studying to be a pastor. And when you type in seminary, really nothing comes up. So you have to get a little more creative in terms of how you figure these things out. I'm interested if you've seen this trend, if you have participated in this trend, if you have participated in this trend, even if it's not this trend, even if because people are now commenting using GIFs. So if you are one of those people who loves to comment via GIF. I would love to hear what your favorite ones are. What's the favorite one that you use the most? If you have one that you use the most, how do you prefer to search for them? What do you type in when you're looking for, you know, that perfect GIF that will just sum up and explain and make visible exactly what you're thinking and exactly what you want to comment on. So explain how we met in a GIF. So if I were doing this with you, I would probably type in podcast, because even though we haven't met, you are my listeners, and so we technically met through this podcast, and I would see what came up in terms of podcasts. Again, you can find us on social media, so go and you can go to Facebook and use the GIF comment and say how we met on social media on our Golden State Media Concepts Social Media News Podcast Facebook page. See how we brought that full circle? Isn't that just amazing? And now on a completely unrelated note to what I was just talking about, because hey, who needs segues? I was thinking more about when I read to you some of the holidays for today, and I was intrigued by cranky coworker holiday, because just a couple of days ago, not that long, less than a week, I think, it was slap your irritating coworker day. So these might be the same coworkers and I do not advocate slapping your coworkers. Do not do that unless you want a serious conversation with HR, but it is kind of funny to imagine in your head. Just don't verbalize it and just don't actually do it, okay? So that's one holiday, but today is cranky coworkers, and we're celebrating them. So we're allowing them to be cranky. We're allowing them to complain to their heart's content without rolling our eyes at them, without trying to cheer them up, without telling them to shut up. Cranky coworkers holiday. I love it. It is it's a day when instead of trying to change our coworkers, we just roll with it. We say, you know what, you're cranky, and I am going to let you be as cranky as you want. And that might not be a bad thing in general. I mean, I'm not saying that we should let our coworkers be as cranky as they want all the time. You know, when you deal with a coworker who day in and day out is grumpy, who can't have a conversation without being rude, who is just cranky, or they complain all the time, that can be hard. But sometimes it's okay to just let your coworkers live in that emotion. And, one day a year, if you let them, if you celebrate them for being cranky, and you don't try to change them, then this is that one day, October 27th. And it's always celebrated annually on October 27th. So next year, October 27th, unless it's a leap year. Is it a leap year? Well, anyway, it'll still be on a weekend. It'll either be on Saturday or Sunday. So you don't have to celebrate your cranky coworker at all next year. How fabulous is that? I just wanted to bring that up because I think Cranky Coworker Day is hilarious, and I just wanted to share that with you. And the other one that we talked a little tiny bit about, at least in passing, was that it is Frankenstein Friday. And since we are talking about Halloween, I thought that we should look a little bit more at Frankenstein Friday. And as I said, that is the last Friday in October. And it was created in 1997 to celebrate the birth of Frankenstein's monster and its creator, who was the author Mary Shelley. The person who created this was Ryan McCloskey. See, you can create your own holidays. How cool is that? He created it on a Friday because the alliteration the name makes, and it's easier to be festive on a Friday, Frankenstein Friday. So that's what it is. We are celebrating Frankenstein's monster. And remember, it is Frankenstein's monster. That wasn't the name of the monster. He has become eponymous. Then the monster has become Frankenstein, but it really was Frankenstein's monster. So if you are a Frankenstein fan, you could celebrate today by rereading Frankenstein's monster, or at least reading it over the weekend. And actually, one thing interesting, Frankenstein originated by fusing two words, Franks, who were a Germanic tribe, and Stein, which means stone. So there's a Frankenstein castle where an alchemist once lived, and it is possible that this was an influence on the novel, but it's not mentioned in any of Mary Shelley's journals. It's unclear if she ever really visited that, but interesting German castle. So Frankenstein, German castle. Pretty interesting, huh? Or maybe that's just me. I have a really weird sense of what's interesting. So, best ways to celebrate this. Obviously, grab yourself a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, a cup of hot chocolate, and if you have the day off, just sit down and read Frankenstein. Or if you don't have as much time, there's always movies. Frankenstein, the movie, which starred Boris Karloff as the monster. Who doesn't love Boris Karloff? I actually mentioned him the other day in a different podcast. Or you could watch the Mel Brooks classic Young Frankenstein if you're looking to just, laugh your patootie off, because who doesn't want to have a good laugh? And, if you're having a Halloween party, since it is the Friday before Halloween, maybe you want to dress up as Frankenstein. It's a little last minute for that, but it'd be very, very appropriate if you were having a Halloween party on Frankenstein Friday and you dressed up as Frankenstein. All right, those are my topics for today. We covered Halloween costumes, we covered Black Cat Day, Tell Me How We Met in a GIF, and Frankenstein Friday. Gives you all kinds of things to celebrate. I hope you celebrate. Dress up as Frankenstein and celebrate with your cat. Really, what more could you ask? Thank you so much for joining me. I love talking with you and I appreciate you listening. Join me again next week. And in the meantime, you can find all of our podcasts at www.gsmcpodcast.com. You can download those podcasts on iTunes, SoundCloud, iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, Stitcher, etc. You can find them on any app that you use for your mobile device. So check out our whole family of podcasts, and there's all sorts of topics that maybe you will also find interesting. And of course, social media, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram. We would love to hear from you. So come interact with us on social media. Again, thank you for tuning in. I hope you will join me next time. In the meantime, have a happy Black Cat Day, have a happy Frankenstein Friday, and have a spooktacular Halloween.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Social Media Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.